Uber Eats is manipulating you into taking no-tip orders, but I've discovered how they're doing this, and when I share this knowledge with you, you are going to know how to pick profitable orders and reject the bad ones. Now, who defines what is good and what is bad? In this video, I'm going to quickly share 3 sample orders that I took recently that one was really shocking. I'll tell you what, I got a massive Christmas tip. And then another one, this is the one that I was satisfied with it until I got to drop off. And then I discovered, oh, no tip. And then the third one, it's going to confirm my findings. So let's get started. This very first order, I'm going to bring everything up on my iPad. You'll see why here in just a second. This first order definitely caught my attention because as you can see here, it was 8:05, almost 7 miles. Now, that did take me almost 20 minutes to do. So that's roughly $24 an hour, which is really great. That is highly sustainable. But the next thing here, the dollars per mile, that works out to $1.17 per mile. And this order was great until I got to the drop-off, finished the order, and then I went in to look to see how much the tip was. And you can see right there, it's 8:05. That means this was a no-tip order. And incidentally, it remained a no-tip order. So I was happy at first because, yeah, the miles were a little bit high for the distance, but it was acceptable to me. And then it wasn't until later when I discovered it's no tip, I thought, what's going on here? And by digging deeper, this gave me the insights into figuring out how they're manipulating us. So up next, you're going to need your computer or internet access to find this information. This is the part where we're digging a little bit deeper. You can do this for yourself. Incidentally, you used to have all this information in the app, but a few years ago, Uber Eats removed it, but you can still access it on your computer. So if you get on your computer, go to drivers.uber.com. In there, when you log on, you're going to see you have activities and earnings. So go into activities, and later you can look up your own orders. This is going to be very insightful when you just see all the fees that the customers pay. The customer fare was $5.76. They did get almost a $3 promotion. And so obviously we're not going to get into the mindset of the customer, but apparently they just didn't feel a need to tip. So you can see that Uber Eats charged the service fee to me, $4.96. Not going to get into that right now, but more on that in a little bit. Overall, Uber Eats had to raise the base pay enough to entice me to do that order. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. Now, clearly, if you look at these other 2 orders, the base pay is much lower because they know the customer tipped, and that level is enough to motivate the driver to take the order. So getting back to this order, was it actually worth it? Consider that for 2025, the IRS rate to operate your average vehicle is 70 cents per mile. So when you do that math, on average, it cost me $4.90 to operate my car, and that left $3.15 as my true profit. Now, is that worth your time? $3 for 20 minutes? That's like $9 an hour? Absolutely not. So this should make you think. And obviously, we're not going to get into the real issue here of pay coming out of your car, but you need to always pick profitable orders, and clearly the customer tips play a huge part of this. So let's look at this second order, and this is an exciting one because I got this massive Christmas bonus tip, and I loved it so much. The third order, that one's going to really prove my theory here and your takeaway on being profitable or not. And speaking of which, please put in the comments right now before we continue. Please let me know, how comfortable are you knowing which orders are profitable and which ones aren't? I'm just curious. And for all drivers that answer this, we're going to benefit to see if most drivers feel they can pick profitable orders, or if they're just virtually taking everyone and not really giving it consideration on, is it worth our time, our hourly wage, the wear and tear on our vehicles. So thank you for doing that. All right. This next one was great. It was actually 4 bottles of wine from a liquor store, and the offer came in at $15.21. And 5 miles. You can already tell without even thinking too hard. What a great order. And this one did take me 22 minutes to finish. About an hour later when I logged on, I was astounded because I saw $45, not 15. So that's kind of crazy. I thought, oh boy, I got a really big tip. And let's get back into the computer. And this is where we're going to dig deeper to find out what actually happened, the base pay, and the fees that go on. So again, this was a great order. So looking at it, wow, a fare of $4.35. Let's say the customer didn't tip. $4.35 going 5 miles. Is that worth it? When you do the math, that would be 85 cents a mile. That is clearly not worth it. Again, the IRS rate is 70 cents. So digging a little deeper here, by itself with no tip, this order would not have been worth it. Who's going to turn on their car for $4.35 for 22 minutes? That's again like $12 an hour. That's not worth it. So if you look here, the total customer fare was $11.89. In their promotions, UberEats did give them a big discount of $10.79. And so, I think it was because of Christmas that the lady tipped me so well. But overall, they did get a big discount. So maybe this extra portion over the $15 estimate, it was roughly $11.96 for the tip. Maybe what happened is she realized she got that big discount from UberEats and then passed it on to me. So again, this is something to think about, and more on that in a little bit. So here's my theory. Reflecting on that first order, that long distance, UberEats raised the base pay enough that actually I thought it was a worthwhile trip, and I didn't even consider if the customer had tipped or not. Then the second one, naturally, that big tip came through. So $15 for 3 miles, actually $15 for 5 miles, I'll take it. I jumped at that in a second. I didn't even have to try to figure out if it was worth it because I knew it was. So here's my theory. I think UberEats manipulates drivers into taking long distance deliveries that are no tip orders. And why do I say this? You can clearly see $8.05 base pay to go 7 miles. If they had just offered $3 or $4, no one's going to do that. And those short distance trips, the base pay was much lower, but it actually worked out to be similar. Like, I'm making this up now, between 85 cents and $1.17, that range. But again, without a tip, I'm not going to turn on my car and do any kind of food delivery for $2, $3, and $4. That's just not worth it. So what I really think Uber Eats is up to is when customers don't tip, they're having to raise that base pay to entice us to do it. And clearly the long distance deliveries, I think that's how they're going to manipulate most drivers into taking them. So then actually there's more wear and tear on your car, but you don't quite realize that until you get paid out and then discover there is no tip. And in a high percentage of times, there never is a tip that comes afterwards because the customer, they behave that way on purpose. So now you have the knowledge on picking profitable orders and unprofitable ones when it comes to a customer tipping or not. I think this is profound. So go back in your computer, look up all your past orders that you care to see where there were ending up to be no tip, and see if you can discover this for yourself and validate what I'm sharing with you. So again, I am not dissatisfied. Like that $34 tip from the customer, thank you. That was a Merry Christmas. Let's get on to this third confirmation order. All right, the third order. This was an offer of $10.70. And then it was 2 miles. It was a McDonald's order. It ended up taking me 16 minutes to do that. So when you consider that kind of pay, basically $10 times 4, that's $40 an hour for 2 miles. Sign me up. But let's look if the customer did not tip. So again, the base pay was $2.70 for 2 miles. That does work out to $1.35 per mile, which is much higher than, again, that order I mentioned, the long distance no tip order. So I did get a tip of $11.96. Looking at the fees, the customer paid $13.66. They did get a promotion of $9.44. So maybe that played into the high tip. Not really sure. And then the service fee that they charged to me was $1.52. Overall, I think this confirms the difference that you can see the 2 short distance trips, the base pay was a little bit more because the customer tipped. Therefore, Uber Eats didn't feel compelled to raise that base pay because a customer did not tip in order to get us to do the delivery. Oh, and real quick on that third order, I do want to mention, in case you didn't know this, Uber Eats does hide tips over $8. So the base pay was $2.70. The offer came in at $10.70. That works out perfectly if you're paying attention. That's $8. And so then it's no wonder later the rest was revealed and I ended up getting that $14.66. So to this day, Uber Eats still hides tips over $8. That's not necessarily the main topic of this video, but that's a bonus for you. So wouldn't it be so interesting to see, is there a pattern in light of the customers paying all these fees to Uber Eats? And how does that affect how much tip they give us? So I've got good news for you. I've made a video where I quickly go through all of my orders in 1 month, doing just what I showed you here on the iPad, looking at those fees. And I'll tell you what, after you watch that, you are going to come away with a newfound appreciation for the customer. So watch that video next, and I'll see you there.